Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today, recapping our Week 2 victory against the Cincinnati Bengals. If there was ever a game in which you realize that stats do not tell the full story, this has to be it. I mean, three interceptions, by Joe Burrow, and then 2 touchdowns. The lack of yards between Dalton and Fields, but we come out with a win. It's a lot of craziness all over. But anyway, I'm so sad and I'm so sorry. It's not even my fault, but I'm sorry for our loss as a fans that I don't have film. And talking to NFL.com, they don't care. They really don't care. I don't know when they'll come back, but they really don't care. And so it's so sad because it adds a huge layer to the game. Even I will admit, sitting here, there's obviously some stuff I could talk to you about, but I can't give you as near a deep dive and insight into the team as I could when I watch film and I see what's actually happened. I can see certain things and I can infer certain things, but without film, you can't really deep dive into it. And that's why you see a lot of sports media. That's what they do. They just create their own narratives. Barely they even watch the highlights, but they create their own narratives. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about what I saw, but it sucks. It really does because, for the people that really watch this channel and really understand the stuff I talk about, you know that it's a great predictor of what we're going to do next week. Every time. It's always a great predictor once you really understand what the team does. But anyway, we're in a spot where we got to wait and hopefully they give us our coach's film back. Who knows? We'll see. But with all that being said, diving into this game, I think I learned more about the Bengals and Joe Burrow than I did about the Bears. I mean, I feel bad. I honestly feel bad because the Bengals, for all the issues I talk about, the Bengals got it worse. I mean, their offensive line not only is not talented, but they're not veterans and they don't really understand like anything. I would say I wouldn't say they don't understand anything, but they really don't have a sense of continuity, and they're just young. You could tell the way they do switches, the way they pick up blitzes, all those things is just not there, and that could be for a lot of reasons. There's definitely a couple players on there that I don't like. Jonah Williams, I was a fan of. I don't know if he was going to be a left tackle because of his mobility issues, but I would have thought he was better trained coming out of Alabama and seeing his technique. But, when you get to a bad organization, you could really get sloppy. So it was bad all around. And so when you talk about the bad offensive line like we've seen with us, that trickles all the way down. Now, what doesn't help is they have a very stale offense. Now, the offense is not as stale as ours. Even though we did a little bit different stuff today, very little bit, in the past game, we have a stale offense. And their offense for the Bengals was pretty stale. Now, they do some things. They try to get Jamar Chase the ball. They do some crossers. They do some things. But for the most part, they were really playing into our hand. Really throwing things that were underneath. Really going with short routes. Nothing that was attacking the middle of the field. Nothing that was coming across the field too much. And I just felt bad because Burrow didn't have anywhere to go. Even though the run game wasn't bad at all, like there was times Mixon really was able to get some movement. But overall, they just really didn't give Burrow much help. And so what happens is you start speeding up. And whenever you have a play that's a quick play or a short play, you speed up more than you need to, and you make a mistake. And that's what you saw with Burrow throwing that first interception to Roquan for the pick 6. And then, obviously, he had the tip interception, which, not really his fault. They did not pick that blitz up well. And then you had the interception of Jalen Johnson, which, again, where we run curls, they were running comebacks. And it just like Jalen Johnson, Veldor, whatever his name is, all of them, they're not speed corners. Everything vertical and across kills us. But when you do stuff that's underneath, that's where we play best. And they just kept throwing it that way. And so overall, the Bengals offense, oh my God, really not good. And so I think they played into the Bears' hands where we were able to be aggressive in the coverage. We still didn't generate great pass rush, but we got enough push up the middle where they were really weak, where we could affect Joe Burrow. So we did a good job there. We did a good job, but you still see, even in short time, we give up explosive plays. Even to the Bengals with a bad offense, even when we're winning, we give up explosive plays. Offensively, and this is why I hate that I can't watch the film, because I would like to see the run game look decent. Now, there's many times we got losses for yards. There's many times where we did not block the correct people. And make no mistake, we're doing the same thing. We're doing zone left, zone right, split zone left, split zone right. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. And so you still have those issues with the tight ends and everything on the backside that I talked about last year. It's a lot of those issues, but there's obviously times where we're doing better. Now, what I think I've seen, and again, without the film, it's hard to confirm, but I feel like Montgomery has a little bit better vision. I've at least seen him be more patient. And so that's not always means he has better vision, but I've seen him be more patient, and that's good. And so I would like to go on film and see, like, how is he seeing the game? Because that helps. But also, I just think we have been getting a little more push, so it'll be interesting. I mean, we know what Daniels and Whitehair are. Peters is a big, big man. Even though he's not mobile, he's a big man. Mustipher is a big man. And so Fetty is too. So you would assume we have even less pass protection, which is crazy, but more run strength. But, you know, it's hard. Again, I got to watch the tape. But even with that being said, I think offensively and overall, we just had so many penalties that really shot us in the foot. It's just, it's tough to win that way. And again, you're talking about the Bengals. This was a mess of a game. This man threw 3 interceptions and then followed that up with 2 touchdowns straight. One coming off interception by Fields, and we'll talk about him a little later. And we had so many times where we took ourselves out of a drive because of penalties. We had times where we extended the Bengals drives because of penalties. They killed their own drives and everything. So when you're talking about us going against a team that is being as undisciplined as we are, it's a sloppy game overall, you would hope that we would start to clean it up. But really, I didn't see that. We just really, in my opinion, just played down to the level of competition. And so that's something to look at. But I don't think I learned anything new. I mean, especially without looking at the film, I don't know that Nagy and them changed up too much. I think I saw some things that were different. Definitely a couple crossers to Mooney, which I like. Again, we need to be crossing, cutting across the field. But overall, I don't know how much we changed. And then we won, but again, in a very sloppy fashion. And so you're talking about a team, which I already thought the Vikings weren't great, especially because of their defense. A team that hung with the Vikings, but overall, just watching them today, I'm like, bro, they are not that good. And so next week, you got a team like the Browns, where you really are going to see some talent on the field. OBJ might be back. Bro, you know, that's where we're going to see some things. And Eddie Jackson looking out of sorts, man. Looking out of sorts. Jalen Johnson's doing exactly what I expected we seen last year. He, again, like bump and run, he's straight up. Let's go. But even on that quick double move to Chase, which Burrow missed, you saw, or even in the foot race with Veldor and against Chase, like, bro, we're not built to go downfield like that. So we have to play underneath. We have to play tough. And if you do that, it's going to play to our advantage. But when you can stretch the field, when you can play action, things are going to get rough. So let's get to Justin Fields. Andy Dalton was looking pretty good. I mean, honestly, he seemed comfortable, way more comfortable than Fields. And not only just in the pass game, but understanding when to tuck it and run. And honestly, I don't know why, but when I watched him with Dallas last year, I didn't see that as much. I don't know if the people just don't respect our team as much, but he had some lanes to run. And so it was nice to see him do that, but obviously eventually got hurt. Came back for a series, then went out. They say it was a knee. I thought it was an ankle, so but they think it's okay. So he might be starting again. Fields, honestly, this is like a Madden moment. Like one of those scenario engines that they claim is so good but sucks. If it was like that, it was like your starting veteran quarterback goes down after a good play, and then the rookie comes in halfway through the game and has to finish the game with the lead. That's literally what it was. And obviously we won, but man, I will tell you, Justin Fields, there's some things there. There's some things. It's exactly what I was afraid of. I was afraid of him, and I told you, becoming a guy that just tucks it and runs. Now, we don't see what's down the field, so it very much could be, they're covered up down the field, so he made a good decision. But I don't know if that's the case every single time he runs. And so it's hard to evaluate. But the fear is that he's a guy that just takes off whenever it's uncertain. Now, on top of that, there was some turbulence in the pocket, and I don't blame him for that. Especially where, they hit him and he fumbled. They hit him, he threw an interception. Like, that's going to happen. That's going to give you jitters. But if you want to get to the level of quarterback, even close to the top guys, there's going to be a point where you have to throw under duress. Not like dirt around your feet. I mean, while getting hit, you got to make the throw. And I'll give him credit. There was one time he did make a throw. It was short. It wasn't, big. But still, that's a progression that he's going to have to make. And I'm hoping that he goes the route of quarterbacks that understand when to run, like a Mahomes and all that, rather than a quarterback that I'm just going to run all the time whenever it's not comfortable. And because we know that type of style does not last and it doesn't work all the time. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens going forward with that injury and if Fields plays. But as we saw, Fields, there's some processing. There's some understanding how to maneuver the pocket when you don't have a lot of time. And there's some coverage. There's a lot of things he's got to work on. Like, people ooh and ah because he runs fast and throws far. And trust me, I like him as a prospect. But again, there's going to be a learning curve. And not to say that he shouldn't play. I think he should. I've said this before. I want him to take this lumps because people might be looking at Justin Fields right now. I'm looking at Justin Fields as a sophomore year 2. That's what I'm thinking about. And all these lessons he can take, that interception he threw with the late drop, all that, and what he can evolve and become next year. That's what I'm looking at. So, but we do know there's a lot of work. There's just no natural, I'm just going to dominate the league. That's not going to happen. So, but yeah, I think that hits most of the points. Again, I will be more interested next week with the Browns. I think we'll learn more there. Right now, it was not a great team, and we didn't have an absolutely great performance despite the good opening drive. It was just sloppy after that. So, I don't think I learned too much. I really don't. Not as much about the Bears as I did the Bengals. So, anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.